that age, what was your thinking which led you to break certain barriers?
I can't walk on the lines of someone else's vision. I have a lot of creativity in me and it needs to come out.
Do you feel like as a married woman, your partner has definitely played a very, very important role?
I think Narpat has taught me more than anything else how to take a chill pill.
You think our geography, where we live in, the scenario, the air, the water, all of that also plays a role? Like, has that played a role in your decision to take up being a pastry chef? Do you think your city has played a role in that as well?
The fact that I come from a decade ago, it was a tier 2 city. Again, even when I'd come back from pastry school, from Le Cordon Bleu, I only saw bakeries here. The dream was always to give Jaipur its first standalone patisserie.
Nowadays, so much talk about processed white sugar, packaged food. There's so many actors and influencers talking about how this is extremely unhealthy and make smarter choices.
Yeah.
But everyone is still consuming it in reality.
Is sugar good for you? It's not. Let's face it, it's not. But if you're consuming it in a balanced quantity, it's okay.
Hi guys, I'm Anushri Saraf from Jaipur, the founder of labels Capraha India and Label Rhea. And I strongly believe that growth cannot be linear. You will fail, you will succeed, you will have a unique path of your own, just like your fingerprints. A girl from Jaipur, a recipient of prestigious titles like the Lalist and Condé Nast, a recent guest judge on the MasterChef India, I think words would be less to describe this pride of Jaipur, Chef Tejasvi Chandela. I would love to welcome her as the very first guest on my new podcast, Grow with Anushri. Tejasvi, welcome to my show. Thank you so much for being here today. It's such a pleasure.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's going to be amazing. I can't wait to discover everything about your life, your journey, and how you got to be here where you are today. So let's start from the beginning. Tell me that you're from Jaipur. Tell me about your upbringing, your family, and who all are there in it.
Okay, so I come from a Rajput household.
Okay.
It's me, my father, mother, my younger sister, and then the family kind of grew. Now I've got a husband and a daughter too. So yeah, I mean, my early days, from what I remember, I feel like I started from. My journey began from the city. It began from Jaipur. I was born in Bikaner. I came to Jaipur when I was 1 year. I think a little less than 1 year, maybe 8 or 9 months. And ever since then, I remember my life in Jaipur. But for my schooling, when I was 8 years old, I went to a boarding school close to Jaipur in Ajmer called Mayo College. And so I remember spending most of my growing up days then in a boarding school. Than in the city. I always feel jealous of all of you and your friend circle because I'm like, you've got such a massive friend circle here because those are the perks of studying within the city that you live in and you've been brought up in. But yeah, I mean that's how my journey in Jaipur kind of began. It then went to my boarding school, and then I came back from my boarding school, and then I joined the same school as you, which was MGD, and it was a very different life for me then because I did not expect this conventional day school life and how I will fit into it. It took me a very long time, to be very honest, to get comfortable with myself in this city initially in my schooling days because coming from a boarding school, it's a completely different setup, right? Like in a boarding school, we're living in those four walls, the people that we're living in are our family for majority of the year. It's the life, we don't know life beyond that, those four walls. So it's that, and then, suddenly you come into, now you're a growing adult and a young adult and you've come into Jaipur in your 11th standard and girls are going for Valentine's Day and you're just like, I have never interacted with any other boy in my life other than my brothers. What am I supposed to do? So yeah, it's like that. It was a completely different experience. It was absolutely a very uncomfortable one, to say so. But yeah, it is what it is, and it's shaped me in a different
As a
way.
person.
What happened was I got used to putting myself in uncomfortable situations
Right.
and figuring out a way to get out of it. I feel like that was the takeaway, in some way for me.
Experiences that you had.
In both the experiences that I had.
Okay.
Because when you're just 8, my daughter is turning 8 in another month, and to even imagine her, living life by herself in a boarding school is hard for me.
Right.
At 8.
Imagine and picture that now.
Exactly, to imagine and picture that now. But I got lucky with a good set of people that I met. They are the closest friends that I still have.
From Mayo?
From Mayo.
Right.
From Mayo, absolutely. My closest friends are still from Mayo, and luckily for me, 2 of them are in the city. So we tend in Jaipur.
Oh wow, that's
so
amazing.
We tend to meet each other every now and then, and it's nice.
You have a younger sister, Apurvi.
I do.
Who is such a pride of the country as well.
Yes, she is.
Did you guys grow up together in the same school, or did you have different schooling? Because you all are such different personalities with distinct careers. So how did that take a different trajectory?
So, Apurvi and I are polar opposites. Right. I am North Pole, she's South Pole.
Okay.
I'm winter, she's summer. It's like if a stranger had to meet the 2 of us, they'd be like, what exactly is in common between the 2 of them? And yet there is so much in common between the 2 of us. I'm the extrovert, she's the introvert, but she is the real star of the family. I mean, her career picked up when she was in school. When she was 16, she started shooting.
Okay.
And how she stumbled upon shooting, I feel like you should actually have her on your podcast.
Right, yes.
to really get to know her better. But to just give you a small summary of it,
right.
When she started off as a shooter, she was only 15, 16, and she picked up 10 meters air rifle shooting. And she was a complete natural at it. When Abhinav Bindra won at the Olympics,
right.
That year, I think a day after he won, on the same day, I can't now remember, but it was my mother's birthday.
Okay.
And she comes from a sports background. Everyone in her family has played basketball, from national to international, to only the one time India ever represented in the basketball team of India was ever playing at the Olympics.
Right.
One of my cousin Nanas was playing there.
Oh, wow.
So she comes from a hardcore sports family.
Right.
And she always wanted one of us to go. But it always seemed like it would be me, because I was very good at athletics and swimming and hurdles and long distance running, cross country races. So she always thought it would be me. Right. And then Abhinav Bindra won, and it was her birthday. We all stepped out for a family dinner, and on the television, his interview was coming. And instead of paying attention on her own birthday dinner, she was more interested in that interview. And as he started speaking, as he started talking about himself, my mother very quickly realized that, you know what? His nature and Apurvi's nature are very similar. The next day, she took her to the SMS stadium. She gave her a pistol and a rifle in her hand. And I don't remember what her first shot was, but from a rifle, I think the first was a 7 or an 8, which is amazing if you've picked up a rifle for the first time in your life.
Oh, wow.
So then her journey kind of began, and she became who she became. She's been a world number 1. She's represented India twice at the Olympics, at the Tokyo Olympics and the Rio Olympics. She has won Commonwealth gold, where I was there in Glasgow. The best moment of my life.
It was remarkable.
It was the best moment of my life to have witnessed her win there. Multiple medals, like Arjuna awardee. Like, I can't even, where do I start and where do I end? You know, Apurvi's career is such. She's a chota packet, bada dhamaka. That's what she is.
Wow. But I'm sure she has a lot of inspiration from you. And to see your career take this amazing journey of its own, what was that moment for you when you realized that this is my calling, while growing up? Like you said, you're an athlete, but when did baking really happen for you in that moment? What was that moment for you?
So, to go into that, you need to know a little bit about me first, as my nature as a person. I am a go-getter. I always knew deep down as a child that, you know what, whatever I do with my life, I will make it big.
Amazing.
That thought was always in my head. I may not have expressed it to my friends because you know how your friends are at that age. They tend to, pull your leg and joke about it. But I always knew that whatever I do, I will make it big in it. But Apurvi's career took off first. And I remember, as a mother, you're always trying to balance out between your two children. And for my mother, she was always worried whether I'm going to go into any kind of complexes growing up. When one sister is a champion and the other one does not know where life is going to take her. But between Apurvi and I, there was never a sense of jealousy. Like, never. There was no internal competition. Like, I was always super happy for her. If she makes the bucks in life, great. I'll travel business class with her money. And if I make it big in life, then she can travel. So it was one of those. And then, slowly, when I realized that I was not very good at academia. Okay. And because academics was not one of my strong suits in life, I was always appreciated for the little things I ever made at home, even if it's 5 versions of Maggie or like a little, a little tea cake that I've baked. Anything small that I did in the kitchen was always appreciated. And as a child, when you're appreciated for something, you start believing that you're good at it. And that's how I feel like cooking kind of came into my life.
How old were you at this time?
I think, it used to be when I was in my boarding school, but I used to come back for my holidays. So I would say I must have been, 12, 13. And having said that, my father comes from the F&B industry. He's a restaurateur. He has been in the hospitality and the tourism industry for a very long time. So he spent majority of his life in France. And he worked in different restaurants there. Growing up, I think I rarely used to get to see my father because he was always traveling to France. But whenever he would come back, he would make, on every Sunday, it was like a ritual that he would make something for me and my sister. Both of us would sit on the kitchen slab, and he would zhuzh up like a banana flambe. And just to see, bananas going up in flames or a dash of rum going into something as a kid was like, are we adulting that we get to eat that?
Create such things
Exactly. And in India, you don't usually see, a father in the kitchen. And I did have the privilege of seeing that growing up. And I feel like that world just seemed very magical at that time as a kid. And then came Nigella. Then on TLC, Nigella Lawson came and I was like, whoa, what is a pavlova? What is an eaten mess? Growing up in Jaipur or even in Ajmer, we used to the only access we had to pastry was via bakeries.
Correct.
And it was the same classic pineapple cake, Black Forest cake with the cherries and the chocolate truffle. And it was the same. And that buttercream you knew was made with some heavy, hardcore dalda. That grease would not exit your body for days.
True.
But that was all that we knew. So I feel like, slowly as
your experiences just
my experiences through television, through watching TV shows became even stronger. And then in college, I ended up doing business management from Royal Holloway University of London. And I was so happy that I'm going to London because guess who else is from London? Nigella Lawson. Which meant I could go into these beautiful grocery stores from my Vaishali Nagar Sham Bakery grocery store to like Tesco, Sainsbury and Waitrose and pick up like meringue and strawberries that I could make a necklace out of and roam around, And instead of actually studying business management, I actually spent most of my time cooking for my hungry Desi friends. And, it kind of all came together.
You attached to the kitchen no matter what. And you found your way around it always to pick on something new and to like take it from there actually all the time. Do you think while growing up, our geography, where we live in, the scenario, the air, the water, all of that also plays a role? Like, has that played a role in your decision to take up being a pastry chef? Do you think your city has played a role in that as well?
A major role. A major role.
In what ways?
The fact that I come from a tier 2 city, which we can't call tier 2 anymore, I feel, but a decade ago, it was a tier 2 city.
Right, absolutely.
Again, even when I'd come back from pastry school, from Le Cordon Bleu, I only saw bakeries here.
Correct.
The dream was always to give Jaipur its first standalone patisserie.
Right.
You only had two options here. You've grown up
Yes,
here, right? So it was either going to a bakery,
Right.
or if you wanted to do something half fancy, you would have to enter a 5-star hotel
Yeah, to get a cake or
to
something.
get a cake.
Right.
And even their cakes, let's face it, half of them are made with premixes,
Absolutely.
and there's no
nothing
character
original
in
that.
it.
Right. Absolutely.
So, I mean, not taking away from any hotels. So sorry if I'm offending anyone in this, but you know what I mean. So coming back, I knew that I definitely wanted to do this. And how Jaipur has shaped my career. Initially, I had a little bit of resentment, thinking all the cool things happen in the bigger cities. Who is going to take notice of my work?
Right.
Where am I supposed to go and talk about, oh, you know what, I am in Jaipur, but I am doing good work. How do I get my work out there?
Outside the domains of us.
And today I can tell you, I'm so glad that things worked out the way they did, because I had the first movers advantage in Jaipur.
Right, absolutely. You did.
It's very hard for a tier 2 city chef to come in the forefront, not just in India, but also globally.
Right.
My journey has been.
It's been phenomenal.
It's been.
And I think me and my friends and family have been the witness.
Yeah.
When dessert opened for the first time, I remember all of us rushing to see what is this new French Parisian style of a bakery in Jaipur.
Yes.
It's wrong to even call it a bakery. I think it's like a dessert.
A patisserie.
Patisserie is like a castle in the middle of the city,
Yeah.
It was just so phenomenal for us to experience that and to sit down in that whole balcony and have that cup of coffee. It took us to Europe for that amount of time.
Yeah.
And it was so fresh to see that in our Jaipur at that time. It was again, I think, 10 to 12 years back.
Yeah.
Okay, so who or what influences your style of baking? Is it a particular person? Is it some sort of an inspiration from a city or a country that you feel like really has influenced what you do right now?
So I feel like as a pastry chef, I've evolved a lot.
Right.
What I started with was way too European to what I'm doing today.
Okay.
Just the creative journey has evolved over the last 11 years, I would say.
Okay.
I don't think now I really seek inspiration from a person. I try and find it within me.
Okay.
To be entirely honest. Because even after 11 years, if I have to seek inspiration from other people, I'll never find originality in my own work. And that's what happened, I would say, 2 years back. There was a turning point in my career, 2 or 3 years back, I would say. I can't tell you exactly what happened, but I put myself in one of these, a situation where I understood that if I continue to work this way, I will get stuck in mediocre work. And I'm never going to rise above that. I'm never going to find my own signature style. And to find your own signature style, be it my industry or yours, it can take a lifetime. In a lifetime, you'll never know what your signature style is. What should people know you for? What is it that's so distinct and unique about your work, right? And that's when I told myself that no, I am going to change the way I have been approaching pastry.
Okay, just to interrupt, what was so different earlier and what changed? What were the two distinct differences that you saw?
So earlier, when you come out of a pastry school, and if there are any pastry students listening to me here, they'll agree with what I'm saying. When you come out of a pastry school, you come out thinking whatever you have been taught, things have to be done exactly that way. If you've been taught how to make a charlotte, the only way a charlotte can be made is the way it's been taught to you.
Right.
You never think out of the box trying to figure out your own charlotte. Why should I put peaches in my charlotte if there's no access to peaches in my city?
Can you explain to the audience what is a charlotte?
So a charlotte is a very delicate French cake, which is usually made of something on the lines of a sponge finger biscuit. Not exactly a biscuit, but a sponge that looks like a sponge finger biscuit. And you layer it up with pears and mousse. And that's how you build on that cake. And it's a beautiful, delicate cake. I absolutely love it.
Sounds amazing. What was your first memory of making something in a professional setup? Your first experience when you baked something in a professional kitchen. How was that experience for you and what's your takeaway from that?
I feel like the first time I ever entered a professional kitchen was when I interned with a big hotel chain in Gurgaon.
In Gurgaon.
This was just before I'd even gone to my pastry school, to a
Okay.
pastry school. And my takeaway from that was that at least back in the day, and we're talking now, what, maybe 14 years from now, 15 years back, commercial kitchens, hotel kitchens were highly male dominated. So it was like 100 men and 3 women maximum. So, and also constantly having to, you can't, you don't have a lot of say in the entire situation, which is also understandable because you're just starting out. There's a lot for you to learn. So I feel like the takeaway from that was this industry is ruthless and it requires long hours, and you genuinely and truly have to be extremely passionate about it to survive in it.
And at that age, what was your thinking which led you to break certain barriers? How did you come out of that? What was that catalyzing moment for you that no, this is male dominated, but I will make my mark? There had to be some change that you must have gotten in your thought process, or some barrier that you must have broken at that time while in the internship years. So, what was that one moment for you, or that one change that you brought about?
That I can't walk on the lines of someone else's vision. I have a lot of creativity in me and it needs to come out, at my own pace, and I need to be in control of that scenario, that narrative. So I feel like what I learned from that was that if I continue to go along with this in the hotel line, what will happen is for me to reach the top will take many, 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 many years. For someone to take my creativity and use my creativity into the, get that into the picture. Usually in chain hotels, it is what the executive chef decides, and then everybody else follows that. So I also realized one thing, that I don't think I'm a very good follower.
Basically,
I don't think, I like to make my own decisions and then I will take full onus of that. If I fail, it needs to be because of me. And if I win, it needs to be because of me. The decision has to be mine. So I don't think I would have been very good at following someone else's vision. I don't think I'd be very good.
Did that get you noticed by the seniors in the kitchen? That this girl.
I left before I could even come, before people could even notice me.
Right. But was this the same scenario, kitchen after kitchen, hotel after hotel?
So I didn't do a lot of hotel training. I did one stint and that was enough for me to realize I am a very decisive person.
Right.
I know when I don't want something.
Okay.
And I knew at that point, I don't want this.
Okay.
And I made that switch, and that's when I went to a culinary school, a proper culinary pastry school, and learned the techniques. And then I came back, and yes, I know I was only 22 when I started dessert. But I still was very sure about what I was doing from the perspective of, yes, I want to be my own boss.
And was it at that age when you launched dessert, your own patisserie?
Yeah, at 22.
So you did not really bother about proving yourself to the seniors in the industry who you thought would help you make a mark. You were very sure that this is going to be my own journey.
I was.
I will make it happen the way I want to make it happen.
I was very sure about that, Anushree. Like, that was never a doubt in my mind that I was like, we'll see. If it doesn't work out, I'll become a food journalist, or I'll have my own TV show, or I'll write a book. But whatever I do in the realms of food and pastry
is your own.
Is going to be my own.
Right. What was your biggest learning curve as a professional pastry chef? If you culminate 10 years of work, what was when and what was the biggest learning curve?
As a pastry chef, I would say when I realized, like I was just telling you a couple of years back when I had that turning point, that I was getting bored of what I was doing. Honestly, there was a little bit of monotony kind of setting in. And I was like, yes, I know a lot about French pastry, but what do I know about my own pastry, the pastry of my own country? And that's when I broke out of my shell and Indian and modern pastry came about. When I kind of invented this new and carved my own little genre in the field of pastry making, and I stepped into the world of Indian and modern pastry.
What was the biggest learning curve for you while mastering the art of baking? And did you take your Indian desserts and mix it up with your experience when you went outside the country?
So this is going to be a longish answer.
Go for
Okay,
it.
brace yourself. Remember, I was telling you a couple of questions back about that turning point that I had
Right.
about
The
2 or
distinct
3
change that
years
you
back.
wanted to make.
Exactly. With that also came my first international masterclass
Wow.
that I was going to give in Barcelona
Amazing.
at a school where I was once a student.
What did you study there?
I did my master's in chocolate making from a school called EPGB in Barcelona. It's called Escola de Patisserie Gremi Barcelona.
Wow, wonderful.
And it's a wonderful school. And that school also has had a big impact on my journey.
Right.
So coming back to this, up until that point, I was only into French and European pastry styles. And I was getting a little bored of it. It was all getting a little monotonous. And I was really struggling to find my own calling as a pastry chef. If the world knows me as a pastry chef, what is it that I do differently?
And what is that X factor
Exactly.
that you can bring in?
Exactly. If I'm going to Europe to teach European students their own pastry, how is that interesting for you? Why do you care for an Indian chef to come and teach you their own pastry?
Right.
Right? Like if someone from Australia is coming to teach us how to make son papri,
We will not even pay attention.
you don't relate to it, right? So that's when I started really racking my brains, and I was like,
what can be
I
different?
know so much about European pastry. I know nothing about the pastries of my own country other than the fact that I've eaten a son papri on Diwali or I've eaten ghevar all my life. Do I know how ghevar is made?
Did you incorporate this and give it a contemporary twist?
So I'll get to that.
Wow.
When I started diving into the subject, I was like, let's start with the toughest ones.
Okay.
Amazing. I love challenging myself. It's a toxic trait. So I was like,
all entrepreneurs live with that in their mind.
Yeah. So I was like, you know what? Let me dive into the toughest ones. Let's start with Rajasthan. Ghevar.
Right. Oh my God. Wow.
And on India level, the one mithai that maximum amount of memes are made on is son papdi.
Son papdi.
Right? It's easy to laugh on a son papdi, but don't you dare, because it is very tough to make. It is one of the hardest pastries to make. When you have to pull sugar that's at 160 degrees Celsius with both your hands, you're burning your hands and pulling it and making those fine threads out of it. There is so much technicality, Anushri, that goes into making Indian mithai. Our halwais, right? They are the most underrated chefs in the world because
we don't even care about the son papdi that much. Honestly,
you laugh on it at all, and people will just laugh and move on. मिठाई का डब्बा आपने गिफ्ट कर दिया, किसी ने consume कर लिया. Nobody has paid attention to how it's made and what a halwai has gone through to make it, the process of making it. Now, there is no mithai pastry school here, which meant this was going to be a complete solo journey for me. I would have to learn how to make the pastry of my country on my own. If you go to a halwai and you tell them, please आप इसकी घेवर की recipe बताइए,
nobody can do that.
They will be like अंदाजे, 1 kilo ये डाला, 1 kilo वो डाला, ये डाला, वो डाला, ये लो बन गया. And you're like, but what about grammage? I did.
Wow.
I sat with a few halwais. I tried to pick their brains. I tried to ask them, how does this work? But it was, it didn't get me anywhere because pastry is very technical. Every gram can change the formula of a recipe. And here I'm doing andaze ka pastry making with mithai, right? Which is just
every gram you're talking about that changes the texture or the taste. Is it very specific to our Indian mithai, or is it a commonality?
You know, it is, but because they've not put in so much thought into that 1 gram, they've just gotten so used to doing it on their own by eye that they are so good at it. And they've been learning it. See, halwai is also, it's an art that goes on for generations, right? My kid, then my kid's kid, then my grandkids, and it's been taught. It's just there in their, it's in the DNA. Let's just put it this way. It's in the DNA, right? It's not in my DNA, but. So I needed to break it down because now I have to teach Europeans how to make this. So every gram mattered in a ghevar or a son papdi, then every writing down the temperature of oil. Now, as pastry students, the one technique that we've not been taught is frying, and most of our Indian pastries are fried. So, frying is a technique that is so tricky, you can't imagine. Not everybody can make a good puri or a good bhatura. Not everyone can do that, and not everyone can make a ghevar. If ghevar was so easy to make, every person at home would be making it. There would be no lines outside LMB and these other amazing, veteran mithai shops. People need to go to a mithai shop to get it because it's very tough to make it. So that's how it kind of came about. Then I was like, okay, if I'm taking um, the pastry and the mithais of my country, let me pair it with modern European pastry and give it a unique twist with the flavors that I pair with. Being very careful at the same time not to take it in the rasmalai cake zone.
Okay.
There is a very fine line. There is a very fine line between going into the rasmalai cake and making it very massy in that way, and doing something that you really have to rack your brains. How did she do it? How did this come about?
I'm so intrigued. I could do a whole podcast on just this.
I could talk about this with you.
Just the breakdown of what got created. Did you name it something different? What was the students' reactions to all of that?
So that's when my famous Clementine Ghevar entremet came about.
Oh, wow.
As a pastry student, when I was at Le Cordon Bleu in Paris, me and my best friend Louisa, she's a Brazilian, she's my heart. The two of us would buy this pastry magazine called So Good Magazine.
Okay.
It is on a subscription model, and it only comes out once a year. And in that magazine, for that year, the best pastry work by the best pastry chefs gets featured in this magazine. Wow. So as a budding pastry enthusiast, you want to grab your hands on this magazine. It is costly, so you really preserve it, and I still have all of those magazines from day one. Right. And I would always tell Lulu that, what, just imagine someday if you and I are in this magazine. Just imagine. And it was such a far-fetched dream. How does one achieve it? Like, how will someone take notice of me sitting in Jaipur?
Right.
Of my work to be featured in So Good. You need to be so good to be featured in So Good.
Right.
And you won't believe it. When I was giving my Son Papri and Clementine Ghevar entremet class, the editor of So Good magazine entered right at the end of that class. It was all manifested, right? The universe made it happen for me. Once the students left and I was like very tired, I was giving that class I had 102 temperature.
Oh.
And I had not eaten a morsel since morning, and you're continuously giving a class for 3-4 hours. It went on and on and on, and then they entered, and I could see from the corner of my eye when I was putting the crown on the cake, the ghevar on the cake, that someone has arrived. Oh, wow. And then everyone left for lunch, and they came and they said, "Can you make all of this again? Can you show us how you make this again?" And I was like, I forgot my fever, everything. When you really want something in your life, when you really, really want it, and you want it so bad, you'll forget every ache and pain in your body, and you will give it your all. Like you've just woken up fresh as a fiddle out of your bed. And I made it. And they said that we will feature your work in our Spanish magazine called Dulce Pas. And that is also a stepping stone to kind of sometimes get featured and your work being seen, and maybe a So Good would happen. But they liked my work so much that within a month of me, sending them the article and all of that, the details for this, for the Dulce Pas article, they said that we want to feature your work in So Good. And I remember, Anushri, every single person who is so close to me in my life, my parents, my sister, my husband, Louisa, I have called them and I have cried. I've cried like a baby. I'm like, I cannot believe it. I cannot believe it that it's finally happening. And I have ticked every box in my life like this. I wanted a TV show. I got a TV show.
Yes, you did.
I wanted to be featured in So Good magazine. I made sure it happens. Everything in my life, I feel like I do believe in the power of manifestation without reading the manifestation books. When I've really wanted something, the universe has figured out a way to give it to me.
I think it also comes down to determination.
Yeah.
And this hardcore belief that no matter what, this is going to happen. Like, you don't give your brain the chance to go into ifs and buts.
Yeah.
If you don't give yourself, I feel, a second backup plan. That, oh, if I don't do this, let me just get away with this.
Yeah.
I think that's when dreams come true. I personally
Exactly.
believe, and I can see that passion and that fire in you.
Anushri, there are no shortcuts in life. You
Absolutely.
believe in that, right? When we
Absolutely.
start out in our early 20s, we feel
Yeah.
like we'll conquer the world in 3 days.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I still feel that.
you know that it's
Yeah.
going to happen. I'm going to
Yeah.
make it big, and people are going to take notice of my work, and I'm going to be exceptional. And then sooner or later, you understand that no, it's not. All of this came to me only 4 years back. I have been doing this for the last 12, 13 years. It's now that it's come to me, but it's good that it's come to me now because the understanding of it is a lot more.
And the capacity
I don't
to accept
it is a lot more. I am a lot more grounded today as I was, in your 20s, you're just flying like, you know how it is. The enthusiasm is different. You're constantly on cloud nine for no reason.
Fabulous.
So you
tell me a little bit more about the Clementine Ghaver.
Yeah.
What were the students' takeaway at that time? And what was the impact of taking India to Europe in that moment, in those days when you were at university?
As I'm talking about it, I can feel my heart beating so fast because it was such a moment, where people could have seen my work and been like, ye kya kar rahi hai? Sometimes when you're doing something unique, it can either be perceived as a genius idea or it can be perceived as, what on earth is this? Like, has she lost the plot completely?
You don't even know what she's making.
Like, why do you want to do this? A ghaver is a ghaver and an entremet is an entremet, and why are you pairing the two together? But I took that risk.
Can you break down that for the audience, what an entremet is?
An entremet is a French cake. It's a French mousse-based cake which you can layer up very, very intricately. An entremet can have 2 layers, 3 layers, 4 layers of different textures, different flavors. You can play with a crumble and a sponge and a gel and a mousse and a glaze or a cocoa butter spray all together in one cake. So as a creative person, it gives you a bigger playground to play with in terms of adding flavors and textures to a pastry.
And you combine that
with our traditional ghaver. And it was such a moment because the pastry students there were like, what is this? And the other one that they really got intrigued by was when you start making a son papdi, it's a blob of hot sugar.
Okay.
And nobody knows what is the end result of this, right? So they first see you pulling it. And then they start seeing these golden threads, fine golden threads. My God. And when you're doing it, when you have 102 fever, it usually takes 4 people to stretch a son papdi. Yeah, it takes 4 people that are on a square table to pull the sugar and make son papdi. And here I'm doing it by myself with 2 bare hands.
Oh my God.
But again, it was one of those magical moments where you can, as a teacher, you can see your students and you can see their reaction going like from what is going to happen to wow. And it was amazing. It was absolutely
amazing.
amazing.
Class must have learned so much out of that whole experience.
You know where the success lies for me is when I have taught it to a student and the student can make it. Because after my demonstration is over, the next 2 days I'm invigilating the students. They are making what I've taught them. And when you see Spanish students making son papdi and ghaver in their country, it's a moment.
I think you're one of the first pastry chefs in the country to have experimented with something like this, to have taken the Indian mithai to the world outside. I believe you're one of them.
I think so. I think so.
It's a fantastic feat to achieve.
And hopefully doing it in an aesthetic way and not in a, there's a very fine line between maintaining the aesthetic and then going into the tacky kind of
commercialized, but then you had your whole I think a design aesthetic around
I did thing. And I pay a lot of attention on that as well. The colors matter. If I'm doing the son papdi, I paired it with a pistachio lamington and a rose caviar. So with the golden threads, that the hue of the rose pink and the green of the pistachio, it just looked really nice together.
Like a stunning garment I would create with that color
Exactly, it's creativity, right?
What you imagine.
You're playing with the colors, you're playing with textures, you're playing with textures, I'm playing with textures, only in 2 different fields.
This brings me to your most amazing experience last year.
Okay.
Being a guest at the MasterChef India. It was last year, if I'm not wrong.
It was last year, 2023. Yeah.
What was your experience around that? And that's again in itself another feather in your hat, which is amazing to have. For me, I think it's someone from Jaipur, my city, to see
Yeah.
girls make it that big. I feel like you get inspiration from people like maybe Indira Nooyi, Indira Gandhi, so many people making it so big in their fields. I think those are class apart. But to see girls from your own city achieving something like this is another level of, I would say, pride and inspiration. So tell me about your experience at MasterChef.
It was phenomenal. I had already done a TV show, so I kind of knew how this works. I have a show called The Baker's Table on Zest.
All right, that's amazing. Guys, please take a note of this. You guys have to see the show to check out Tejasvi's real work on the TV.
Yes, only on Zest.
Amazing.
Yeah, I shot for this show about 2-3 years back, and now the repeat telecast is on. But it's I'd already done that, so I knew how cameras and angles kind of work. But going there as a guest judge and standing with stalwarts like Chef Vikas Khanna, Chef Ranveer Brar, Chef Pooja Dhingra, the topmost in the country, was amazing. To just share a stage with them, to be a part of the industry, and it really felt like I think I belong now. You know, there was that sense of belonging, that yes, the industry has now taken me into its wing and as one of their own, and I'm not an outsider to it, or I'm not trying to be a part of it. It just happened organically, and I'm so glad it did, because it was a wonderful experience. I got to spend an entire day on the sets, and I just had a great time. It was a lot of fun. The pressure was not on me. The pressure was on the participants. So it was nice to be on the other end and throw that challenge.
All of that, you know. So
exactly.
When you see a new talent come on stage, when you see like a new chef or a pastry chef trying to make it, what is that one skill set where you feel like this is mandatory for this person to make it in this industry? Because you know it's so competitive, it's hard, it's got long work hours. So maintaining all of that, plus having those unique skills. So what do you identify first as a judge, as a teacher, as a mentor?
I feel like there is not a particular skill that I will talk about. I will say, if you are getting into a creative field, a creative, whether you become an entrepreneur in that industry, you have to make sure that knowledge and skill is the first thing that you work on. As a pastry chef, if you know the techniques, it just becomes a whole lot easier, and over time you don't get lost in the way, because you're in it for the long run. You're not in it for the short term, right? So if you're in it for the long term, and you're not equipped with knowledge, and you're not equipped with the skill set required for the job, over time you'll notice that you're getting lost. You will start getting lost. But when you are equipped, the chances of that happening are a lot lesser. You know, whether you have resources, whether you have a good network, all of that is secondary. The first primary thing that you need to work on is your skill set. You need to know the basics. You need to know how the sponges are made, how the fillings are made, what is the science behind it, because pastry is not only a form of art, it's also a lot of science. There's a lot of science going behind pastry making, right? So if you are not aware of that, if you don't know how temperatures work, how a recipe gets affected, the basic foundations have to be taken care of. It's extremely, extremely important for any business.
And in your journey now, as being so senior in the industry, are you taking up students? Are you teaching them how to make pastry? Is that next for you in your journey as a chef?
It's not next for me. I've been doing it for the last 7 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I've been teaching now for the last at least 6-7 years now. I started pre-COVID actually, and I started a small studio kitchen that time, which in Jaipur. It was called Cut Chocolate Cake, where I started taking short pastry courses. Okay. And I started getting students, and then COVID came about, which completely shifted the way we were taking classes. Then we went on to online classes. Correct. And I started making a huge network of and a community, I would say, not even network, a community of students, of budding pastry enthusiasts. And I think I've taught over 300 students by now.
Fantastic. And these are regularly going on even right now. The classes are in
Yes,
full swing.
yes. They are this year I've taken 3 professional pastry courses.
Fantastic.
I have taken so many master classes. I can't even count. I don't have a count.
Fantastic.
Every year, once a year, I go to Barcelona to the same school that I taught in.
Okay.
Every year I teach the students there, the graduation students, something new. So in December, I'll be going again this year.
And
Take up one more master class. I am their India ambassador as well. So if there's any student that wants to go and study there, they can go via me. I can put them in touch with the school.
Okay.
My association with the school now has been for 8 years.
8 years now.
And 8 fabulous years. They're like family. I've also given a master class. I think I've given a master class at all my alma maters. So also at Le Cordon Bleu, London.
Oh, wow.
2 years back, I'd given a class there, which was another feeling altogether. So I like putting myself in these situations, in different situations, because you never know where the opportunity lies, Anushri. You never know where it is. You know, sometimes you just need to put yourself out there, and that's what I feel people are so afraid of doing. I tell my students this all the time. I'm like, you're already sitting at a no. If you take a chance and you write to that person that you want to work with, or if you make an effort of just writing or talking or putting yourself out there, what's the worst? A no? You're already at a no. Or what if it becomes a yes?
At least to give that hope or that chance to take
That's how exactly. That's how every opportunity in my life has come about. Who is going to take notice of me sitting here in Jaipur? Right?
Coming to doing everything that you're doing and having a home, a family, a husband, a daughter, as a working woman, how have you balanced all of that? What have been your biggest challenges here?
It comes to us naturally, I feel. At least most of us. You're born with it. As long as it's not taken for granted, great. I feel like family has always been priority for me. Work is a part of my life. It is not my entire life. So for me, I got married at the age of 24.
Wow, you were 24.
23 going into 24. I had Sarana when I was 25 going into 26. So I became a young mother, and when you get married, it's easy because it's like staying with your best friend, and a lot changes, and yet not a lot changes as to how the balancing act will now come into play. See,
you're playing so many roles.
Exactly.
As your own profession, as a wife, as then a mother.
Yeah.
And that must be a lot to take on at that age as well, when you were already established in the city with dessert.
Exactly. So it was, when I got married, I touch would have gotten married to someone who's extremely progressive and happy with whatever I do in my life, and is always supportive of that and wants me to grow and completely accepts me for who I am as a person. And then comes Sarana, and now we need to kind of figure out how the three of us kind of, how can we have that ecosystem wherein he can continue to work, I can continue to work, and we are raising a child. That's where I feel like Jaipur has also played a huge role, is because I have a huge support system. When they say it takes a village to raise a child, they mean it, right? I'm super proud of all of those women that are doing it without that support. But I don't have a nanny for Sarana. But I have a very strong support system at home from my parents and my extended family. And anytime I need them to step in, they do. My husband and I, like, if I have to step out of the city for work, he takes over. If he needs to step out of the city for work, I take over. So we've kind of figured it out now.
Made your balance around.
Exactly. But what helps is the fact that where I'm stationed in Jaipur, you've seen where dessert is, right? Spice Court is where my father's restaurant. So my father, me, my mother's boutique, it's all in the same area. So we all kind of meet each other.
And come together as what you need to do.
And the luxury of having your own business and your own play and your own enterprise is that you can get your child to work very easily.
Is she very inspired by what you do?
I hope so. she gets very happy. She loves like randomly, uh, watching my shows and watching my YouTube videos, and she feels very happy.
Is she also hands-on in the kitchen? Is she trying and experimenting?
She does. Once in a while, whenever she feels like it, I don't force it upon her. If it comes naturally to her, great. If she's meant to do something else with her life, then she should be doing that. So she does. Right now, she's still at that age where she'll want to bake a cookie with me, or if her friends are coming over, she'll be like, "Can we do like a baking play date with my friends?" And I'll make that happen. But I can tell that she is very proud of what I do, and that she really looks up to it. And I'm very happy that initially, when I became a mother, every mother goes through this guilt phase where you are like, am I doing the right thing? Will she miss out on, am I missing out on something? Will she turn out to be okay? Will she have any resentment with the fact? It is a mother's guilt, and it happens to the best of us. But now that I see her, I'm so happy. She figured out a way to become a part of this ecosystem. Of
what you're doing, and yet not take the pressure.
Not take the pressure of it, and really understand what I do and respect it. She respects that. She respects the fact that yes, my mother goes to work, and if there is an important meeting, it is an important meeting. Yes, there will be that once in a while when I'm in the middle of a meeting and she'll just pop up from school, and she'll enter, but then she'll know that there is, she's in the middle of something important. But she's still a child. I mean, there will be those times where she'll come and she'll be like, Mama, 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 and then you're like, okay,
but
fine.
I think you're instilling such strong qualities in her without even consciously instilling them. And I think that will go such a long way in her career, no matter what she chooses when she grows up. Do you feel like as a married woman, your partner has definitely played a very, very important role? Do you think his contribution or his values has it created any value system in your career since you've been married until now? What role has he played in that?
I think Narpat has taught me more than anything else how to take a chill pill.
Okay.
When you have a wife who's like, okay, now there's this work and there's that, and I'm passionate about everything that I do. And when you're a passionate, creative person, sometimes we get that baggage home as well. He is a complete Zen person.
That's fantastic.
And he is very, very calm, and he's that calm that I need in my life. And he teaches me how to just ease out and take it easy and not take too much stress, and it's okay. He's the emotional support, let's put it this way. He gives me a lot of emotional support. See, my job is very technical, and it does not have, he can't really contribute to that. But what he does contribute to is making sure that every day I get my first cup of coffee made by him. We start our day like that, and we just discuss what is it that we need to do, and you're taking care of this and I'm taking care of this, and then we just kind of figure it out and make it happen.
You found that correct balance.
That balance.
In your personal life, as a mother, as a wife,
exactly.
As a professional. I think you've hit that point where you just know that this part of my life is now taken care of, and there's only an upward graph.
And the good thing is that he also comes from the hospitality background, so we do, and we're working together.
Okay.
We're working together, different job roles, but we're working together. And he is a great person for me to now, over the years, he's also understood the kind of work that I'm in. So anytime I'm lost, I can just sit with him and we can talk and discuss it and come and there is a solution in that conversation. So it's great.
As a woman, I feel not just people like you and I who want to create something and do something. I think women all across in every genre has an issue with self-worth and self-esteem that we're battling on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. What is something about this that probably must have bothered you at some point in your career or personally in your own life? Has there been something like that? And if you can touch base and share your journey on that front.
I don't think I've ever mentioned this, but about 3 years back, I got this skin condition called rosacea. Okay. And I've never spoken about this on social media. At least I don't think I remember I have. But what it really does is that most of the things that I have to make on a daily basis in the kitchen, I actually can't consume it. So I start getting these boils and bumps all across my face because of the blood. It's the heat in the body that starts inflammating the blood vessels on the face, and the entire face becomes red. And I start getting, little boils all over. And then for them to go, it takes about 6-7 months for those marks to go away. And I really have to control my diet. I can't over exercise because that heats up the body. I can't drink anything very hot. I had to completely leave chai. It's been 2 years since
You had chai?
since I've had chai. Once in a while, I'll take a little swig, like yesterday I did. But then it's that one-off. It's never going to be a constant thing. I used to have 4 or 5 cups of black coffee in a day. Hot black coffee. I can't have anything. I have 1 coffee a day, which means everything to me. Dairy free, sugar free, cinnamon free, wine free.
That's taken away a lot of
chocolate free. And I'm a chocolate maker, Anushri. Like for me, the biggest challenge has been that when this started happening and my dermatologist told me you need to stop having all of these things, anything that releases histamine in the body, that adds to the body heat, aggravates it. And there is no way to control it because there's no cure to it. And you can keep putting as many creams as you want to. It will go when it has to go. And if you've triggered it once and then you started worrying about it, it starts taking a toll and it aggravates it further.
It's like an endless loop, basically.
It's an endless loop because you will worry about it. Now, I am someone who needs to go to my chocolate factory because chocolate is being made there. But as soon as I step into it, my face, it starts itching so badly. So I have to take, one of these Allegras or Citrizens before I go. And it's not good. And then, of course, even excess sugar, not even excess sugar, anything more than maybe a teaspoon of sugar will start, I'll start breaking out. And it took a huge toll on me 3 years back. And I was like, I need to be in front of the camera. What if I need to do another show? How do I shoot any content? How do I go out publicly? And all my life, I've been a very confident person, and physical appearance or anything to do with that never affected me, ever. It was only till my entire face got covered with boils and rosacea and all of that, and it hurts. It is so painful, I can't tell you. Like every time you're opening your mouth, you can feel the pain, If you're chewing, your face is hurting. And then you get this cystic acne with it. So it's not a good sight.
I understand, right.
So I started battling with it, and then I came out of it. After a couple of months, I just told myself, you know what? You have to live with this. You can't stop living. I can't deprive myself of everything. So now I pick and choose what I want to eat, and then I'll compensate it. Like if today I've eaten a lot of sugar or I've eaten a lot of chocolate, etc., then the following days after that, I will take a break. I'll take a break and I'll stick to drinking more cucumber juice. I have to have at least 2 to 3 cucumbers every day. I start my day with a glass of cucumber juice. In the middle, I'll have more cucumber juice. Anything that cools down the body. So I feel like it did take a toll on my self-esteem for a short period of time. But then I bounced back up. Now I don't care. Now I have rosacea right now, a big fat one on my nose. Pretty sure people can see it, but I don't care.
You train your mind into, or your self-talk has been so positive that life has to go on and you have to keep showing up every single day.
And this has nothing to do with my real skill or my talent, right?
Correct.
This has nothing to do with it. And if I get conscious about it, tomorrow my daughter will see me getting conscious about it. She'll start feeling conscious of small things that happen.
Right.
And it'll impact her in a negative way, and there's no point harping about it again and again. And when I stopped thinking about it, it actually improved. Because the day I broke that thing of, I don't care about this anymore. It is what it is. I will live with it. From that day onwards, in a month or so, I started seeing that it's actually improving. This is like 90% better. 90% better. Even now, last 3 months, I've not had it. And then suddenly something important is coming up and bam.
I think that's with
plop, 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 plop. And I was just like, now I tell my husband, I'm just like, it has appeared because something new is coming up.
Any important occasion, anything that you have to show up, one tiny bump, pimple will
I treat it like a nazar battu now. I'm like, this is my nazar battu. Koi nazar nahi lagayega, no evil eye, as long as rosacea has appeared.
You've become friends with.
I've become friends with it. I'm just
Right.
like, you are here and I will live with you. It's okay.
Amazing. What a different way to look at it.
Yeah.
You mentioned chocolate factory, chocolate making.
Yeah.
That's another amazing part of you as a professional chef and a mentor and a teacher and a guest lecturer.
Yeah.
Tell me about chocolate making.
So, when I started All Things, which is my bean to bar chocolate brand, that I started with your friend, your
Right.
school friend first,
Yes, Kuhu.
later who became my friend, Kuhu Kocher. Again, terrific, talented.
Absolutely.
I won't say lady, I'll say girl.
Girl.
She is a
Yes.
graphic designer and she's so good at what she does. When we started this journey, we decided on making bean to bar chocolates using Indian cacao. And Indian cacao was never in the forefront. People didn't really know that India actually has cacao, plantations, and there are farmers that are actually growing cacao in the south of India. And it's been a beautiful journey
And
to
it's
really
completely Indian made.
completely Indian made. It's completely Indian made. We source raw cane sugar from Dhampur, and we're getting cacao beans from Malabar and Idukki Hills, from down south, and Pala. And we started this brand with chocolate bars. Each chocolate bar, of course, with Kuhu's angle coming in, that let's do something fun and different.
The whole designing and packaging.
The whole designing and the packaging element of it was from the point of view of, let's take inspiration from everyday life. All things Monday. On a Monday, what are you thinking of? You're thinking of health because you've done a lot of debauchery on the weekend.
Right.
So everyone thinks of going to the gym. So the Monday bar is it's a dark chocolate bar with granola, and the box itself is a blue and white shirt with a to-do list.
First day at office with your
First day at office, and then we both love Barcelona as a city. So we did an All Things Barcelona with sangria in it. There's All Things Bonding, which has salted caramel, because we took it out on Rakhi because your bond with your sibling is sweet and salty both. So it's all, the flavors are inspired by a mood, or something from an everyday life or travel, and it became such an interesting take to how people perceive chocolates.
You and Kuhu have such a good synergy there.
Yes, we do.
With your whole ideology behind your local ingredients and create these specific flavors, and for her to bring in the design and the packaging element to it.
Yes.
I think you all just nailed the right thing at the right time and launched the entire season. I feel like a lot of people are taking it up for like their gifting and their weddings.
Absolutely. There's a lot of customization that we've gotten into, and that's a big part of the business as well, because we customize bar for you from end to end. We want to know your story. If you're getting married, or if there's a baby announcement, or you've just had a baby, anything, that you want to gift people a nice bar of chocolate. The graphics on the bar will be inspired by the thought behind it, the story behind it. We'll also do a little write-up of how a couple met, or
behind the bar,
an ode to each other, kind of a story behind the bar with the date of their wedding. All things XYZ.
It's amazing to see how you touched on baking as a science.
Yes.
And how you made it into a whole art and a design, formula around your entire profession into that one bean to bar chocolate. That's fantastic. All right. So there is nowadays so much talk about processed white sugar, packaged food. There's so many actors and influencers talking about how this is extremely unhealthy and make smarter choices.
Yeah.
But everyone is still consuming it in reality. So as a pastry chef, what is your take on this? What is this whole talk about being vegan, gluten free? How is this all connected? Should white sugar actually be replaced with jaggery or other kinds of sugar? What is your take on this entire conversation happening online about food nowadays?
See, it's very good when a particular topic is picked up and there's a lot of awareness that comes about. Is sugar good for you? It's not. Let's face it, it's not. But if you're consuming it in a balanced quantity, it's okay. At the end of the day, my job is to be a part of your celebration, to be a part of that happy moment, or maybe give you comfort when you are going through a breakup, or a period pain. On your low days, we give you that little spurt of happiness. Having said that, how do I look at sugar? Of course, like I said, consuming too much sugar is not good for me as well, right? I break out and it has other implications on my body. And then with my daughter growing up, do I want to give her a lot of sugar? My occupational hazard is how to keep her away from it. But then why am I in this business? If that's what you're getting to.
Right.
I think that's where you're getting to. So
also to give your point of view on, is this conversation that's happening online correct, or is this is all a myth, or
it is correct. It is correct, but does that mean that consuming a lot of jaggery is good for you? No, that's going to give you a glucose spike too. Is consuming too much, all-purpose sugar good for you? No, even that's going to give you a glucose spike. So it's about how you maintain your glucose spike, really.
No matter
what you're consuming, be it rice, be it potatoes, be it sugar, be it anything of this sort. Anything refined and processed.
Everything has sugar.
Exactly. Anything refined and processed is not good. So like I said, at All Things, we use raw cane sugar. But am I saying raw cane sugar consumed in copious amounts, quantity is good for you? Again, no. But a little bit of it is okay.
Right.
And you only have one life here. Like sometimes just live it up. I mean, alcohol is not good for you. Wine is also not good for you. But if you are taking it in like small measures, I'm not at all trying to promote any of this. So let me also make that very clear. But, consuming it in a small amount, balanced quantity, there is a balance and harmony in everything that you need in life, right? Just like that, it is, with sugar, it's the same thing. And we've been consuming sugar generations, for generations now. Can you imagine a halwa without sugar? Can you imagine a kada prasad without the sugar? Can you imagine a mithai without the sugar? You cannot, but you're not consuming a lot of it.
What about these introductions to the market like stevia and other things that probably diabetic patients use, but now it's being consumed by hotels and restaurants? They're replacing the traditional sugar with these kind of, I would say, lab-generated sugar. What is your view on that?
I don't promote it. I do think there could be adverse effects on your body because of that.
Well.
Yes, because sugar-free chocolate, most big companies that are making sugar-free chocolate for the diabetic people, they add an ingredient in it called maltitol, which studies say that it can cause cancer. So will I suggest? No. We are making our sugar-free chocolate. It's a 90% dark chocolate which is sugar-free. Firstly, it's mainly cacao. Okay. Is it acquired taste? Majorly, yes. But we're adding stevia to it. Has stevia, they say, is a better alternative. Has the research on it is still on.
It's not established.
I'm not going to sit here and claim that no, stevia is the safest form of sugar-free, substitute. It's still being researched upon, but it is a better alternative than maltitol for sure. If you don't, I would say if you're not someone who is diabetic and you want to control your sugar intake, you can add a little bit of, jaggery or coconut sugar and all of that. But then again, if you're making a cookie out of it, if you're making a cake out of it, you will still be adding enough to bring that kind of sweetness. So if you're making a sugar-free cake, use dates. Date is a good alternative.
Okay.
It'll give it that natural sweetness. Add applesauce. It'll give it the natural sweetness. Add bananas. Bananas are naturally sweet.
You can easily
replace it with fruits.
Regular sugar and use fruits.
Exactly.
All right.
Rather than using, other substitutes that you don't really know what's gone into making them.
What about people who have allergies nowadays? Or they're turning vegan, or they have celiac, or they're choosing gluten-free options. Do you also create desserts like that which can suit these preferences as well?
It's a very good question. Veganism is now coming in a big way.
Very big way.
A lot of people today are lactose intolerant.
Correct.
I myself am. So there is a huge demand for vegan baking. Correct. But that, as a pastry chef in Jaipur, I already had to get into, because 75% of our city consumes egg-free.
That's one big aspect.
Egg-free pastries. All I have to do is take out the lactose element from it to make it gluten, right? Sorry, to make it vegan.
Yeah.
But when I started out in this industry, now I am a non-vegetarian. So for me, it's not, adding eggs in a cake was a no-brainer. So when I started out at 22 and I opened dessert, in the first month, most people that were coming in were actually going out. And I was like, why? I'm making such beautiful pastries. And they were just like, आपके पास एगलेस क्या है? आपके पास मेन्यू में कुछ भी एगलेस नहीं है. So the biggest challenge that I've faced as a pastry chef is to come up with a menu, a section of my menu that is egg free. More than it being vegan and all of that, that is egg free, yet giving you the most, giving you something delicious and tasty. So you can't really tell the difference whether, an egg product would have, or it's egg free.
But did you have to go deeper into breaking down using almond milk, coconut milk?
I did have to.
All of that
I did have to. But my best sellers today, Anushri, are all my egg-free pastries. Those are my best sellers.
And that's only in Jaipur, Rajasthan, or?
We will see when dessert expands to other places where this goes.
Fantastic.
But yes, and then if you're touching upon the allergies, many people today are allergic to so many different things, and some of them can actually be fatal. So it's a very fine line. I was making gluten-free cakes, but then I did give it a major thought, and I was like, yes, I can provide to that audience, but it is very difficult, because at the end of the day, you're making everything within the same kitchen, right? To give gluten-free pastries a separate room gets a little difficult. And then if there is a speck,
a grain of,
it could mean some, jeopardizing someone's health completely. That's why I don't do gluten-free baking anymore. I made a conscious decision, because yes, a large part of what I do has all-purpose flour, wheat, etc., gluten in it. Avenoceries, etc. So it's going to get very tough for me.
You can't really control that to that extent.
You cannot. So for me, I had to make that choice, and I made that choice. I don't want to be in a situation where, because of me, someone else had to go to the hospital. I can't, because my own niece has this allergy, and it can get very, very fatal very, very quickly. And I have seen, my cousin and my brother and his wife go through hell and back because of that. And and I've seen a child in my own house who probably craves to eat all of this and is not being able to, and I should be able to provide to her. So if I have to make something for her, I'll probably make it at home with the utensils that her mother is using for her. But it's too risky.
It's a very big effort.
It's a very big decision. If I want to go into that, then I'll go into that entirely, and that's the focus of my business, then gluten-free baking.
And vegan to some extent as well then.
Yeah, but in vegan, again, we can add all-purpose flour. That's not a problem.
Okay.
So then again, that becomes a problem, right?
Another trajectory altogether.
It's another exactly. It's another trajectory. It's easier to provide to a vegan audience as compared to a gluten-free. Gluten-free can be very risky.
Okay, tell me a baking myth that you like to debunk that is very commonly known, but it's not true.
I might get trolled for this, because the age-old method that most moms have learnt at home watching, the TV shows and all, is that when you are making a sponge cake, they use this cut and fold method.
Yeah.
Have you heard of it?
Very commonly, you cut.
Yeah, they cut and they fold, and they cut and they fold, and they will do it till the time their arm falls off.
Right.
I don't really get why. Okay. At the end of the day, when you are making a sponge of any kind, it is dry ingredients and wet ingredients getting mixed in together. The purpose is, as soon as the dry ingredients get mixed in, and you can't see a speck of the dry ingredients, you can fold it once or twice and stop. It's done.
Would just be added to remove those bubbles and those, to make it as smooth.
You can just tap the tin as soon as you pour the batter twice, and the bubbles will go anywhere. So I would say, please don't spend half your life doing the cut and fold, thinking, what a brilliant cake we're going to get. The truth of the matter is, the more you whisk the batter after you've added the dry ingredients, the more dense your cake is going to get.
Okay.
Don't do that. I feel like that is something that I always say.
That's the biggest myth that people are believing.
Yeah, I mean, people keep going on and on.
What's your favorite ingredient to work with?
Oh my God.
If you had to really pick one for the rest of your life, okay, this is one thing I never give up on.
Hazelnuts.
Oh, that's interesting.
You know, hazelnut is an ingredient that is so versatile.
Okay.
And I make my own hazelnut praline at dessert, and we make our own uh, hazelnut-based products, you know, other sauces and ganaches and
all varieties using
most.
hazelnut?
And it is so versatile. People love hazelnut. Love hazelnut. Okay. And it's the most comforting nut in the nut family for me.
And across all age groups, I think.
I'm nuts about hazelnut.
All right. And what inspires you to keep trying something different? Is it the texture of an ingredient or something which comes to your mind and you imagine it to look completely different from what the traditional form of that dessert is and you want to mix it up with, example, a hazelnut? So where does your inspiration come from to try out different things?
It really depends on my mood. A lot of my inspiration is also taken by my travel. So I consciously make an effort to travel at least twice a year.
Okay.
And then wherever I go, whichever city I'm exploring, whichever country I'm exploring, I try and kind of imbibe those, the flavors and whatever culturally they eat, take inspiration from them, the local produce. I try and take inspiration from it, and I sometimes try and put it. See, when with dessert, it gets very hard for me to experiment a lot.
Okay.
Reason being, there are now dessert after 11 years has come into the bracket of these are the best sellers. If you remove something from the bestseller category, people will come and they will be disappointed and they will thrash you for it completely. I
think your whole scenario depends on those five.
So it depends on I have the leeway to play around maybe 10 to 20%.
Okay.
So 10 to 20% of my menu is whatever I want to experiment with, which I sometimes launch as limited edition.
Which is so that perhaps?
Related to festive occasions, okay. Especially like my Indian and modern pastry, it is experimental. Not every audience is going to consume it, very easily. So for people to kind of get a little insight into that world, I take out limited edition pastry box, signature pastry box for Diwali, Rakhi, etc., etc.
Weddings and maybe things like that.
Exactly. But by and large, it has to be what the city demands to, which sometimes can also get very monotonous. But my inspiration also becomes, the menu also changes according to the season. So during the summertime, we're using the fresh fruits and produce from that time, and then during the winter time, it changes. And during the monsoon time, you've got your stone fruits, and then you can kind of experiment with the stone fruits.
So is this a lot with like local Indian inspiration, or have you also gotten what you've experienced maybe somewhere in Europe or any other part of the world?
It's a mix. It's a mix. I can't say that it is this or that. It's a mix. And it completely depends on what I am feeling in that moment. Okay. Every creative person also goes through a creative slump and a block.
Absolutely.
And it happens to all of us, right? So in a year, you'll at least spend 4 months in thinking, what kind of an existential crisis am I going through?
What can I even do?
Where am I headed? What am I doing? Why isn't it coming to me? And then you take that travel experience and you come back and you're just like, oh my God, I got this. So it really depends on my mood and how I'm feeling. And in that moment, what has inspired me, and I'll create something and I'll put it out there. I don't give it so much thought.
Which country has calculated. Been like your biggest inspiration?
My own.
Like your own? Besides India, if you had to pick, which has amazing flavors, the local produce, you were like, okay, this is something I want to keep on experimenting with.
Recently, I've traveled to Brazil twice because of my best friend.
Okay.
And Brazil is such a brilliant country. It's got, so I've been to the north, which is Fortaleza. Okay. I've been to the south, which is Porto Alegre, and I've been to Rio de Janeiro now. All of them are so different. And, the fruits that they have. There's something in common with the fruits that Brazil has and the fruits that we have. So the way we have jamun, they have a fruit there called jabuticaba.
Okay.
It's got that same deep jamuni color, and it's got the same kind of flavor profile.
Texture as well.
But we don't experiment a lot with jamun. They go crazy with jabuticaba. The fruits that Brazil has and the nuts that they have, and even the cacao that they have
it's very famous for cacao.
It's so amazing. It's even the coffee.
Yes.
It is a land of great produce.
Have you
Great produce.
experimented whatever you incorporated from Brazil, for example, in a
I've-
menu at dessert?
I did. When the first time I traveled to Brazil, I remember I tried their Brazilians love condensed milk,
Okay.
right? And whatever they eat has a lot of condensed milk in it. So they have this local dessert or a candy slash chocolate thing there called brigadeiro.
Okay.
And a brigadeiro is so delicious.
What
It's one.
exactly is that?
It's condensed milk cooked along with cream and butter and chocolate, and it reduces and it becomes like this fudgy textured truffle situation. It is so good, and you can use it as a frosting on cakes.
Oh.
So after my first trip to Brazil, I came back and I made this brigadeiro cake, and people were confused. I won't say it went down too well, but it was one of those things that I really wanted to do. I put it up. My family ate it very happily.
Okay.
It went off the menu after 1 month.
Oh, really? Okay, so the response
Jaipur
here.
is now becoming experimental. Back in the day, it was not very experimental. Anything that I'd put up on my menu was perceived as experimental, even though it was not.
Correct.
You know, a fraisière is not an experimental cake. It is just, strawberries and sponge and creme pâtissière and all of that goes in. It's a very popular French cake. But out here, because of course people are not used to eating it, so
They
it
like
became
traditional pineapple pastries,
it was like, oh, what is this? It was one of those. Then you come up with things like brigadeiro, and they're like, we've never heard of it. So there is an audience that would take interest in it, but largely no.
So you come across as a person who loves to be, I would say, very experimental. You've tried your hands on different things at all times to create something new. Would you say that most of your recipes are very, very authentically original, or do you still refer to some secret recipe books and you pick your mind from there and combine your new discoveries along with some traditional recipes also while you're making these new dishes?
So dessert is a combination of 60 to 70% what the city demands.
Okay.
30 to 40% of what I want to do.
Okay.
Now, what I want to do, like I'd mentioned earlier, it has to come in spurts. I have to inject it into Jaipur very slowly. Very, very slowly. Even entremets, which are so common, in France and in Europe, I had to introduce it to Jaipur so gently, very mildly, and then, make people try petit gâteaux for them to then understand what a mousse layered.
What is a petit gâteau?
Petit gâteau is just a smaller version of an entremet. I'd already explained what an entremet was. It's just an individual portion, an individual size. So an entremet cannot be sliced and given by slice in a patisserie.
Right.
So you have to make a smaller version of it in a silicone mold and present it as a petit gâteau so that people get a little taste of it.
So you had to create more awareness.
I had to create.
You kept going.
I have been educating, Jaipur in a big way. Like, I feel like the city has also, I want to be very modest and humble when I say this, but I do want to add here, and I don't know if people will agree or disagree, but I have contributed to educating Jaipur in a certain way when it comes to pastry as well.
And adding to that, I feel you've definitely done that, but you've also kind of put Jaipur on the map on the culinary front.
I really hope so. I have, because it's been a struggle.
Taking the ghevar and the son papri outside, and the way you've given others the awareness of what we have. So in India, we may already be popular, but I think like through how you're educating others, you've been able to make that mark beyond Jaipur as well, at least in this domain. So I feel that's a fantastic thing to achieve.
I do think, yes, I would agree with you that yes, I've played a big role in this, but destiny also has its own role to play, I feel, in many things that you do with life. But most tier 2 city and, pastry enthusiasts will agree, it's very hard to come up in the forefront. It's very hard. It remains a dream for most in this lifetime.
But you were, I think, at the right time, at
the right place
to be able to, and also to pick in that moment. A lot of people are there at the right time and the right place, but they, for whatever thinking going on in their heads, they miss that opportunity. You miss the bus, it's gone.
It's gone.
I think it's a time to act also. When you spot the opportunity, you need to have the presence of mind to like, okay, let me think about it and do it. Like, I think that's your personality as well.
You know,
You have
Nushri,
to be a go-getter.
when I meet pastry enthusiasts that want to have a similar trajectory, career trajectory like mine, my heart goes out to them. Yeah, like, you know, I can see the amount of passion and you know, drive that they have in them to really come in the forefront. And I know how difficult it is and what a difficult journey it is. It took me actually being recognized outside of the country for most people to take notice of me inside of the country. You know, when I got noticed outside for my work, people of my country started taking notice of my work after that. Especially the whole Indian into modern pastry thing. Yes, they accepted it with open arms. Yes, they people had some great things to say about my work, but it took that.
It took that opposite.
It took the opposite route for them to take notice of it, because when I went to EPGB, then the So Good thing happened. You know, then when I was written about, then the Lalist took notice of my work. I'm assuming through So Good, you know, and when I got my pastry award there, that was a different high altogether, because I was standing with Pierre Hermé, Amory Guachon. I mean, the Jordi Rocca, the biggest names in my industry, people, some of whom who have met at my pastry school as a student, just like roaming around, and I've been starstruck, being like, oh my God, is that Jordi Rocca? You know, and
so these mentors have also played such a big role in shaping your baking style and your perspective towards how to plan your career. So you've been given such fantastic awards recently, the Lalist and now Condé Nast as well. How does that feel? How did that come about? How does that achievement feel to you and your family?
It's so there are many things, like I told you, I had manifested. This I had not. This I had not manifested. This came as such a reward. Like, I get goosebumps thinking about it. I remember when Helen, who's the founder of Lalist, DM'd me one day. I just woke up one morning and I saw a DM, and she'd written that, you know, we'd like to give you, you know, this award along with Pierre Hermé getting award of honor for your exceptional work in the contribution you've made as a pastry chef in India, also globally with your Indian into modern pastry work. I could not believe it. And luckily, I had my visa, because I get a business visa for my classes that I give at in Spain. So every year I have to be in Europe. So I always have my visa sorted in that front, and I had my visa. Otherwise, you know what a task that can be. I took a day trip because the EPGB team, they were supposed to come, and we were going on this Bean to Bar masterclass tour around India. I was taking the director of the school and even the So Good magazine editor around India, to show them around India and to take them on a Bean to Bar masterclass journey, which was going to be epic. And I was so excited for that journey. We went to the best pastry schools in our country, from Delhi to Bangalore to Bombay. And this award just came up. And let's say they were landing tomorrow. I was supposed to be in Paris today. So I called them up immediately, and I was just like, you know what, Olivier, I have this award coming up. Is it okay when you guys land? I'll figure out everything for you. Don't worry about it. But they were like, of course, go for it. My husband and I, it was a 24-hour trip to Paris. We literally went
and came back.
Was floating on cloud nine.
Wow.
When I got Pastry Talent of the Year. The other people who got that award were this chef named Dej, who's a very big name in Thailand today. Also the chef of his name is Phil. He got an award. He's the main chef at Harrods in London. Amory Guachon, a name I don't even think he needs any introduction. If you don't know him as a pastry person, you should know about him. Pierre Hermé, he's such a sweet person, you know, and then Jordi Rocca, to meet all of these people, to get an award. And I wore my mother's, you know, a sari from my mother's boutique, Rukmini, and I was wearing my chiffon, and I was there, and it was such a moment.
I think that's one thing that I really love and admire about you. Whenever I've seen you on international or the national front, you're carrying our beautiful saris and you're donning them with such grace and pride.
Yes.
That's something I absolutely love. That
Sari is a no-brainer, Anushree.
it's a
Like,
no-brainer.
it's a no-brainer. It's
You
a
look
no-brainer.
so ethereal, I
And
feel,
I can run a marathon in a
in a
sari.
sari.
And I feel my most confident when I'm wearing a sari. And when you're going for these awards,
It's a sense of pride.
it's a sense of pride. I'm taking my country, to a global forum, to a global platform where no other Indian has ever been before. Nobody has ever received a Lalist award from our country before. Even when I came back and I finished the entire Bean to Bar masterclass journey, I got called by Condé Nast, and it was the 50 best restaurant awards, when no pastry chef has ever been awarded before.
Wow.
And to be standing there and representing, as a chef, I don't like to say female chef or a woman chef,
Right.
because we're all chefs, you don't call a doctor, you call a doctor a doctor, you call a chef a chef. As a chef, representing so many more, when people like me go and stand at a stage like that, it gives so much hope to so many more people that if she can do it, we can do it. This is achievable. This is not something that I can't dream of. So I always tell people, dream big, yeah. सपने लेने के कोई पैसे नहीं लगते हैं. लो, जितने लेने हैं लो, लेकिन अगर आपको उनको पूरा करना है तो उसके लिए काम भी उतना ही करना पड़ेगा. So don't shy away from hard work. Hard work, really, really hard. Work, give it your all, give it your blood, sweat, and tears. But dream big. You never know who is listening up there, and
who's looking at your
work, and where you might land up. These are not things that I can't say. When you ask me, who did you seek inspiration from? I have not seen anybody's journey like this before.
It's your own unique
It's my own unique path. And yes, there are lots of amazing chefs in our country that were present that night. Some of my friends from the industry that were there at the Condé Nast Awards in Mumbai, and they were all cheering for me, and it was amazing to see that we all felt the unity that night. They were like, finally someone from the pastry industry, because cuisine chefs get a lot of credit. They get a lot of credit. Pastry chefs don't, but people forget. If you serve a bad food, a bad dish, a bad cuisine dish in a restaurant, the only way that customer is going to leave happy is if the dessert was good. And it plays a huge role, So don't underestimate us. What we put on the table is
of very high value.
Is of very high value, exactly, rightly put. And it was so amazing. I remember when I came back, when I took that award and I came down, I had not discussed it with the people on my table who were from my
team and
from
family.
Not from my family, or only my sister had gone with me for that award, but people from my industry, from the pastry industry, all the women that have their own patisseries, etc., and that are also big names in the country today. When I got that award and I came down, and the way they hugged me and they were like, thank you for, putting us there. And
it was unity.
It was a sense of unity. I felt like this is not just my award. It's our award. And the fact that someone from our own went up there and got that award, it was a huge
stereotype of getting only recognized by cuisine chefs.
Exactly.
And to break that
to be in a room full of the best cuisine chefs. The best. And when I say the best, I mean the best. Creme de la creme of the industry. To be standing there and getting an award as a pastry chef of the year, young pastry chef of the year.
I think you've carved the path for not just pastry chefs or cuisine chefs, but people in general. I think through this conversation, I think the biggest takeaway that I feel young graduates, no matter what field, whether it's business, whether it's arts, I think they would really get inspired by this whole ideology that dare to dream.
Yeah.
But also have the courage to recognize that opportunity that comes in front of you and act on it, no matter.
It doesn't come every day. It doesn't come. Opportunities don't knock on your door every day, and
you have to have the perception to.
The successful ones are those who can identify it, who can be like, okay, you know what? Here's something meaty. Let's see what's going to happen. I am going to take that chance. I will put myself out there. You think it's easy to put yourself there when you're giving even a masterclass? It's not easy to be a teacher. It's not easy to be standing in front of, a lot of students that are looking up to you, and now, for the next 3 hours, you need to engage them in a way where you've got their attention, that they're not yawning, that they're not sleeping, and they stay alert, and you're imparting knowledge to them. It's not easy to stand there.
I think it's a challenge for everyone in every way to do that. But then for you to take up that challenge in that spirit, that it doesn't matter, like this is my game and I need to play the field no matter what it is. I think that takes courage.
Till date, I'm doing that, no, Anushri. Like, even after 6-7 years of giving masterclasses, every masterclass of mine, I can feel the palpitations in my body.
The nervousness.
And I love it. I feel like the day that goes, I'll lose that, that fun element or the fire. I love it. Before going for every masterclass, I feel this palpitation. It's nervous energy mixed in with excitement. And my husband's like, that means you'll go nail it. It's that rush that you feel every time you do it. Yeah. Tell me something. How have you throughout struck this balance of being creative, but also the business side of it? How did you find the ecosystem to maintain that all these years? I feel like the entrepreneurial journey started a little later. Because initially you go in with your passion, your ambition and hopes and dreams and, being successful overnight kind of a mind space. It's only as you stumble upon the first few failures and the first few roadblocks that you start understanding what being an entrepreneur means. And I would say, till date, I'm still learning. And I'm actually loving the entrepreneurial side of it now, because every chef, working chef, after a point has to step in more into the business side of things. Every good chef is not a good entrepreneur. And every good entrepreneur cannot be a good chef. So it's a fine line. And to strike the balance between both, you have to constantly keep educating yourself, meeting people who are in different walks of life and different businesses, understanding, their paths as well. Their journeys as well. But every entrepreneurial journey is a unique one. You will fall and then you will figure out a way to stand up. My business management degree taught me I could only apply maybe 5% of it in reality. So you would say that a lot of your learnings now has come through trial and error. Absolutely. Through situations, through maybe failures at some point where you feel like you make this work. Failures are the best teachers. They are the best teachers. Every successful person that you see today has failed more times than they've succeeded. The only difference between them and the ones that don't end up succeeding at the end of the day is only one thing, that the ones that succeed eventually are not scared of failures. They embrace it. They get over it within a week of crying, dealing with it, and then they get back up and they're like, what next? And I inculcated this habit in me where I'm like, every time I fail, I'm like, okay, it's happened. No problem. No problem. Let's cry it out. Let's deal with it. And then what next? What next? It's always, for me, it's always what next? And maybe I'll find success in that. Maybe I'll find failure in that. But the first chapter of business studies is business is a risk. It is a risk. And only the brave are risk takers. Yeah. So you need to be that, you have to be a risk taker. That grit and the determination you need to have. Till the time you don't try out enough and more things in your life, where's the fun here? If it was all figured out for you and there was it would be so mundane and boring. It would be so mundane and boring, exactly. So it's very important to have failures to learn more about entrepreneurship. Having said that, I will also say, till the time you are sure to a certain degree about what you want to get into, don't start. Entrepreneurship is a lonely journey. Yeah. And by that I mean, you may have all the support system, you may have the most loving and supportive family members. A great team also, of course, matters, but as an entrepreneur, it is a lonely journey. It is. Because the ultimate decision maker is you. Yeah. And when you are deciding, that decision could go both ways very easily, and you have to take full onus of that. And your one wrong decision can sometimes cost many lives. And it can have a ripple effect on everything and everyone. See, at Dessert, all the people that I work with are all people that are from villages in and around of Rajasthan. Also in the kitchen, even at All Things. These are people that have never seen a cake in their life before. I came in as a pastry chef, trained them.
And they learned this from scratch.
They learned it from scratch, and today I can proudly say that their finishing is better than mine because they do it every single day, 10 times a day, 100 times a day. You know what I mean? But the great thing also is that, touch wood, no even lie, they've been with me for the last 11 years.
Because probably they've seen that skill in you, they've seen that mentorship.
It's actually harder for me to get people from pastry backgrounds into my ecosystem because it's hard to maneuver that mentality also mixed in with the mentality of the people that who come from simpler backgrounds and have learned along the way. The way their thought process is and the way a pastry student's approach is, it's a little different. So we're also figuring out over this journey as to how to strike that balance. How can the kitchen kind of the environment grow with both parties in it?
Do you think it's to do with they are more raw in their approach to learn?
Yes.
They are more like empty canvases that
Yes.
you can teach them better and they don't
Yes.
have preconceived notions around it?
Yes.
Fantastic. All right. So, do you believe in having continuous healthy competition with your peers, or do you believe in the spirit of collaboration?
I do believe in the spirit of collaboration. I mean, you need your people to grow. It's as simple as that. There are people that started their journey along with me, and now we collaborate together to move forward. In the future, I would also like to collaborate with people who might benefit by collaborating with me. I have also grown, with those people who said yes to, okay, you know what, let's do something together, and let's try and create a different space. So I believe in collaboration. Having said that, I think it's healthy and important as an entrepreneur to have a little bit of competitive spirit in you. Otherwise, that fire and that drive doesn't come.
It can just dissolve.
As long as it's not going into a negative, unhealthy zone, it's okay. But that little bit you need,
So it's a mix of both, actually.
and it helps you grow. I actually love it. I feel like, okay, anytime I feel like, okay, I need to up my game, then I push myself. Otherwise, you get complacent.
And that, I think, comes with a collaboration of any sorts, which would kind of help you elevate not just yourself as a business owner, but also as a pastry chef.
Absolutely.
And in every domain of everything that we do on the professional front as well.
Absolutely.
How do you feel about today's Instagrammable food, where everyone is clicking photos and uploading all the time? So, is there an impact of social media on what you do as well?
Social media as a platform, it's a double-edged sword. The pros to it are many as well. People like us could showcase our work on a free platform. Some of us it's helped us build our careers to a big extent, right? Like, people know about my work in Africa because of social media, right? Having said that, the negatives are when you get over-consumed by it, when you start thinking that this is the only driving force now left in my life, when you start consuming it in an unhealthy way. So you need to kind of structure it where, yes, what is my usage of this platform? How is it benefiting me? If it's benefiting me to get a larger audience to see my work and to connect with me, great. Putting too much of your personal life out there, if it works for some, great. For me, I feel like I keep a healthy balance between the two. People,
how much to reveal, how much to not.
People get a little bit of insight of my life, but many things are sacred to me, and it needs to be like that for my sanity. So I know how to kind of have that healthy balance. And about constantly clicking pictures, guilty.
I think through your social media and through your content creation, I think you've spread more of awareness of what's needed. You've indirectly taught people to gain more knowledge about ingredients, produce, different types of desserts. You've made it more teaching oriented, I feel.
It is
than
that.
just doing just.
It's a give and take, right? So sometimes I am promoting a masterclass. Sometimes I'm telling people what's new at dessert and at all things. Sometimes I'm telling them what I did on my holiday. Sometimes I'm telling them about what inspired me, sudden inspiration from some monument, who knows, some random part of the world. Sometimes it's a collaboration. Sometimes it's me meeting someone who I really wanted to and who I looked up to. Sometimes it's a snippet of my daughter, my dog, my personal life. So, and every day there has to be a post of my coffee, my morning
Right.
coffee. You know, so it's a little bit of everything. And am I? The idea is not that I'm trying to inspire people or anything of that sort. The the way I look at it is, if people like what I do and they join what I'm doing, and if I can even in the inspirational realms, if I can even do that for one person, if even one person feels that what she's doing makes sense and maybe someday I can do that,
You've nailed it right there.
then I'm happy.
What is your one guilty pleasure food outside of baking? Like your go-to comfort?
Rajma chawal.
As often
Yesterday.
as you can. Yesterday.
Rajma chawal, morning, noon, and night. The day it's made, I eat lunch at 11, then I eat another lunch at 2, then I eat it at 5, then I eat it for dinner. It's
You can
just
have it that many times in a day also.
I'm mad about Rajma chawal.
Fantastic. There was this movie called The 100-Foot Journey,
Yes.
in which the main character Hassan has this strong sense of smell, and that pushes him to take up his career as a chef. What is that one unique talent of Tejasvi which you feel that, you know what, I've got this. This is unique to me, and no one can take this away from me.
Interesting question. I will have to give it a second
to
think about. I don't know if it's the smell, but I would say it is more to do with my instinct.
Gut feeling?
My gut feeling, my instinct, what I feel in that moment. And when I feel, Anushri, the friends in my life, they all joke about the fact that she feels too much. There's way too much feeling.
Too much emotion there.
But yeah, when I feel it, I feel it. Every cell in my body feels it. And then I'm just like, I'm going to go and make it. And I'm going to do the best of whatever I can in that moment. I would say my instinct. I've usually been right about it. I only go by my gut and my feeling. And I am an impulsive person, which is something I need to change. Or maybe not even change. Sometimes it's worked for me.
Change that? Yeah.
Sometimes being too impulsive is not good as well. But I act upon impulse many a times, and it's like, you know what, crazy idea. And then I can't sleep the whole night. I'm just like, shit, this idea has now come to me. I must take a note of it.
Down, yeah.
And then I must keep imagining it. And then I must imagine it till the morning. Then I'm dead tired because I'm exhausted by overthinking.
Thinking about it all night.
And then I'll go in that rut and go make it.
I think I would feel the same as what you are saying. I resonate that so deeply because I keep a to-do list on my bedside. Even at 2 a.m., if those ideas are rushing in my head, if I have to make a change in the store, I have a to-do list for all my team members. Like if it's Kirti, I'm like, okay, you know what? I know what work she has to do tomorrow morning. This planter has to shift from here to here. Like even the smallest details play in my mind all day, and I love to act on my ideas instantly.
I feel like I'll forget, and that drive won't come again.
Exactly.
You know?
And I read this in a book somewhere. Once an entrepreneur spoke about this, that if the amount of time you take to act on a decision is that time for the drive to make that successful. If you're going to spend too much time on mulling over a decision and do it months or years later, that result and that impact will not be the same.
I agree.
It's like a fruit that's literally like it's a ripe fruit versus a fruit that's rotting. The decisions have rotted by then.
Yeah.
You know? So that's I really live by that.
I'm like that too. I completely agree with you.
So you would say that your gut feelings are
my gut feeling, my
unique
instinct.
Skill set.
And I know when there's something wrong, and I know when there's something right, and I act upon that. And
instantly.
More often than not, it's been right. Every time I listen to myself,
so that's one quality you're not changing about you.
Yeah, let's not change
continue being impulsive.
Let's be impulsive.
Yes. Do you ever plan to write a book?
Of course
I do. Tejasvi special.
Of course I do. Of course.
Is that already under process?
My mother would always joke. She's like, okay, you dreamt of having a TV show. I saw you on TV and I felt so happy. Now every time I go to Crosswords, I feel like your face is not there. Your book is not there. When is it going to come?
I think mothers are like the people who can like see.
Half of it, I think they've manifested for you.
Right.
The remaining you have to do for yourself.
You just have to act on it, actually.
You have to act on it. So no, the book, of course, it's been in the pipeline for a very long time.
Okay.
Last year, I started actually drafting.
Oh, fantastic.
The first draft of my book, I started writing about it. Then I stopped in the middle because then other things came, the awards came, etc., etc. Then I started focusing on something else. I feel like the book will happen, but I want it to happen at a time when I have the time to write it. I don't want to rush into this process. Even if it happens when I'm 50, it'll happen. But I want to do
It's
it
going to
when I
happen.
have the time to do it, and I'm doing it at my own pace, and I want to enjoy every part, every aspect of it, because it is the kind of book that I envision will require a lot of research, will require a lot of R&D, me traveling, all of that. And I want to document it all. So for that, I need at least 6 free months of my life to do it.
To be able to focus
To
on
be
that
able to focus
and
on
go
that.
into the
And
depth
right
of it.
now, it doesn't seem likely because I don't have that.
Talking about travel, so we see all these reality TV shows and movies where these chefs, they just take off, build their own caravans, have their own customized bespoke kitchens, and they're all across the country just trying different cuisines, produce, meeting people, and just whipping up dishes one after the other, and they just live city to city. Is that something you've ever thought about, that I'll just take a caravan and bounce?
No.
Not one of your goals.
No, not the caravan part. I'll stay in a nice hotel and
Spend a good amount
or a
of
good
time.
Airbnb. I really like places with a lot of character in it. But I'm not a backpacker.
Not a backpacker.
I'm not a
the
backpacker.
hitchhiker kind.
No. I have many suitcases.
Okay.
I have a lot of stuff. I do believe in less is more when it comes to the pastry aesthetics or makeup or clothes. But for some odd reason, when I'm traveling,
it can never happen.
More is less. It's like that. What do I do about that? So I'll probably go. I do imagine myself like I want to go and stay in Italy for like a month and just learn how to make pastas from a nonna or something like that. Those are all ideas that are there. I'm just waiting for my daughter to grow up like a little more, and then I want to do it with her.
So she can be a part and she can learn from
maybe.
all of
And
this.
if she's not interested and she finds all of it boring, then I'll just do it myself and I'll drag my husband.
And has he also been a part of these expeditions with you where you're spending a good amount of time, you can say, in Barcelona or other places learning, where he's been patient around you, taking up these courses and probably learning something for yourself as well?
Barcelona has become like a second home for the three of us. We really look forward to it every year because it's that time where we really enjoy that city, and sometimes we also travel around it. So the last time we were there, we went to Sevilla, Malaga, Valencia, and I think I have some of my best memories as a family unit together. Sarana gets an opportunity to see her mother shine. She also gets to see that if mama is working, the father is then the primary caregiver and caretaker,
such a big support system.
and a huge support system. They sometimes they stand outside and I can see them from the corner of my eye when I'm giving a master class, and my husband will just get her to see a little sneak peek, give her a little sneak peek, and she feels so happy. Then they wait for me during lunchtime, and we've already pre-decided that today we'll go here for lunch. We'll go to Tapas Vente Quattro, have the bikini sandwich and the patata bravas, and it's all pre-decided. And we love food, all three of us. So we'll sit, we'll eat, we'll chat, we'll explore. There are parks that she loves going to. There's also, there's Park Güell made by Gaudi, and all that architecture. And she's really imbibed that, and she also actively tries to learn a little bit of Spanish. So it's added to her growth in many different ways.
I think she's learning so much, not just about the culture of work through her parents, but I think also the idea of healthy companionship. This is what a marriage should look like. I think because in our country or Asian culture, kids have such a different view of it when they're growing up. But I think for kids to imbibe something like this is so important.
I'll give you a little story. The first time I ever went to give my masterclass at EPGB, of course I was nervous. I was very, very nervous. I was extremely, extremely nervous and palpitating. And the night previous to giving my masterclass, so the whole day actually, a day before my class, I'm preparing for my class. And I miss my Sunil, Anil, and Dashrath there.
With your food.
with a helping hand, and us doing it together. But I'm preparing for my class, and I suddenly get a call from my husband saying, she's burning up and she's throwing up. The school, that's why I love it. They were so nice about it. I still had 5 more hours to complete my prep for the class. one of the main people there, Adrian, he just took off his chef jacket, threw it on the side. He said, "Come, we'll take her to the hospital."
Oh, wow.
The three of us went to the hospital. He spoke to them on our behalf. We waited for 3-4 hours till the time she was diagnosed and what is going on, and she got the medicine. When she stopped throwing up, we came back. I went in, I rushed in, I started finishing the prep work for my class. Adrian was like, "If you want me to come in early in the morning, I will open the school for you." I said, "Okay, can I start at 7? Because 9 my class starts. I can't possibly finish everything today." At night, I was also nursing Sarana. I couldn't sleep the whole night because I knew that I had a very important master class, and will Sarana be okay? And as a parent, you're constantly going through,
So much of like
so
stress
much of
also,
stress
yeah.
on you. And I had not eaten because in that
You
zone I
forget
couldn't.
about food in such
I went in the
situations.
morning, I gave my class, praying to God the whole time that will Sarana be okay? Will Sarana be okay? She was fine. And she only told me one thing when I was leaving. Such a sweet child, touchwood. She's like, "Mama, you're going and giving your exam, and I really hope you give it well and get 100 out of 100. She's thinking I'm giving an
Yeah,
exam.
exam. Wow.
And I gave, and I went there, I nailed it. I came out feeling, you feel this rush of
Sense of
energy
achievement.
and this sense of achievement. The first thing I did was I ran to her, I gave her a big hug. I said, "How are you feeling?" And I could see she's weak, but she's like, "How did it go? And did you do well?" You feel so happy that there's a child that's so understanding. She doesn't need to be understanding, Anushri. She's a child.
She's that young also
She's
right now.
so understanding. I've been traveling with her. She was one when I went to do my, not even one when I went to do my masters in Barcelona. She traveled with me.
She was there with
She's
you throughout.
been a great travel companion, and I really hope and pray to God that it continues to be that way. I love traveling with her. It's one of the best things that we share together.
And I think that's such a wonderful, again, for parents who travel with their young kids. And I think they just learn so much about the world. Their exposure is so unique. And they just become such world citizens than just being rooted in one place.
In one place. And it opens and broadens your horizon. Had I just been in Jaipur throughout, college, school, all of that, I don't think I'd be able to think beyond a certain degree in creativity or in business or in the purse. Every experience of my life, every travel has shaped me. So I'm a firm believer of that.
And you're giving that to Sarana as well, which I feel is fantastic.
It's the most important thing, along with be a kind person and all the other basics, and
you're giving her
I'm giving her that.
the whole, I would say, a composite environment to like thrive in.
Yes.
A value system can also come from our families, our support
Absolutely.
system back in Jaipur. But I think as parents, what you're imbibing in her is, I think, even more fantastic for. And this is why I'm asking you, is because of young parents out there, young couples who have small children or who have small like young kids and are planning families, but they are working couples, like both the partners are like have their own jobs or businesses. I feel it's so important to be able to strike that balance and to thrive with a family and have a career. Okay, let's talk about music. Do you like to listen to music while you're baking? And what's your genre, your go-to genre?
You want to know?
Yes, absolutely.
I'm a full Bollywood.
Is it old school
I love
Bollywood?
old school Bollywood that I'll be listening to full blast, or like some Punjabi song. To be cool, I can say other things like, yeah, Frank Sinatra is happening in my life. Sometimes maybe on a winter night with, a glass of hot toddy. But other than that, I am completely into Bollywood music.
Is it like that old school Kishore Kumar and all of that?
Sometimes that, but it's also a lot of like mass. The top-notch commercial. Sometimes it's like refugee songs and like I'll go into that zone. My mood changes according to the music that I'm listening to. Let's say I'm having a really great day, but I'm such a character. The second I start listening to music that's sad, I'll go into that. And I'll be like, yeah, I'm having a really bad day.
I think we're loyal to like being 90s kids. We're loyal to 90s music.
I'm an 80s kid.
Right.
Okay.
But
89
still, that
born,
soul music is like almost 90s. Like that music is so pure to what we
I
relate
love it.
with.
And there are very few friends of mine that jam with me on this. Most of them find me like,
what are you listening to?
Cringe.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I don't care what you have to think. I
Love
love
it.
this. I will listen to this. Like on my birthday, I tell all my friends, we are dancing to random, like, Ajnabi songs and, you know,
Just to make it light
if
and
you
fun.
if you don't want to be a part of it, watch me dance. It's okay.
This is me. This is what I'm going to
This
do.
is me. Yeah.
Okay, talking a little bit about spirituality, or you spoke so much about not reading the book of manifestation, but you believe in manifestation.
Yes.
Do you have a go-to philosophy where you feel like this keeps me going, or like a morning routine, or a ritual that you feel has been your anchoring, thing to follow, a procedure that you follow? What is your scope or your point of view or perspective in this domain?
So I come from a very religious family as well, very spiritual family actually. Let me put it this way. I've always seen my father wear his peeli dhoti and Surya ko arg dena and morning aarti, evening aarti. I've always seen it happen, but nobody forced it on us. And slowly, I feel like over the last 1.5 years, I see the spirituality angle in me kind of blooming, blossoming, growing. It comes to me very naturally now. I make it's a discipline where I wake up in the morning and before I leave for work, after showering, I do my puja, I'll do my agarbatti, not just to the gods and goddesses, but also to the ancestors. I'm a firm believer that our ancestors up there are guiding us and they take care of us. And anytime we have to come out of a situation or a problem, they guide us through it. At least 3 or 4 times in a day, anytime I see the angel numbers pop up on my phone, I
11,
I don't I don't say give me this, give me that, or wish for things. I just say thank you to my ancestors. I do Hanuman Chalisa every day. On Tuesdays I do it 7 times. Otherwise I do it. So these are my small little things that I do. Has anybody asked me to do it? No. Do I get a lot of strength from it? Yes. I respect all religions. All religions. It's each to their own. For me, I do Ganpati every year, and I'll get the Ganpati home, and we'll do the entire puja, and we'll do the Visarjan. We do it. Nobody asked me to do it. It just came to me
very naturally.
So I think as I'm growing older, Anushri, that part of me is parallelly growing, and I can only see it
getting deeper into
going deeper and deeper into it, and it gives me a lot of strength. It does.
Fantastic. That's so good to know that we're able to keep that side of us alive
Yeah.
while trying to move ahead in life and bring it to like a common balance between us. Okay, I want to touch base on this is going to be like the end of our time at this podcast.
Why?
And I think
we were having fun.
I can go on for maybe 2 or 3 more shows because I feel I have learned so much about what you do. The entire realm of culinary is so different and so new for me.
Yes.
And I feel I could just host a podcast just talking about French patisserie.
Next time I'll host a podcast and call you.
I would love to be a part of that. So, on a closing note, I want to touch base on one tip that you want to give to people baking at home and how can they elevate their baking styles.
So I won't give it to just home bakers. It'll be for everyone who's in the pastry business or the pastry industry. It's recipes to sab bana leta hai. Aap recipe, you'll find a recipe on YouTube, on Pinterest, here, there, everywhere. At the end of the day, what really matters is if it's coming from within you and you really, really want to make a certain thing, right? Like, for example, it's breaking bread together brings people together, right? You need to understand that food has a deeper meaning and you are giving joy to people. So don't take offense if they've come to you and complained about something, because honestly, if you've made a bad cake and you've put it out there, it'll ruin their day. And if you've put a good cake out there, it'll make their day. You're a part of their happy and sad days. So take that seriously. And it's not just about following recipes blindly. Have fun. If you're not having fun, there's no point doing it, really. There's only so far you can go with it. And with my students also, it's the same thing. I always tell them that my master classes and also especially the courses that I take, they go beyond recipes and technique. I try to mentor them, and through me, if I can I've been a part of so many lives, and I've
Right.
helped shaped so many lives in, a small way. And I
So
feel
many
like
careers, I feel.
that's the legacy, right? For me, that is the legacy that I want to leave behind. That if any pastry student of mine, one day when they are sitting at a podcast and giving an interview, and if my name pops up because I had been a small part of their big journey, I'll be happily blessing them from wherever I am.
That
Hopefully on earth only, but yeah.
hopefully that would be like your the medal that you ideally want. That
Yeah,
you're touching somebody's life in that manner.
absolutely, absolutely.
Fantastic. What's next for you? What's next for the chef Tejasvi Chandela? Next few years, what is that one thing that is now going to be your focal point that I want to achieve this now?
I will be surprising myself along with surprising all of you because there are many things that I am trying to do now. There are expansion plans also in the horizon. I can't commit to anything here right now because if it doesn't happen, I'll get trolled.
Right.
So let's just put an end to this by saying that there are expansion plans, there are interesting plans. Whatever I dabble into will be fun, exciting, and something new that I'll bring to the horizon anyway.
Fantastic.
And more than surprising you all, I actually enjoy surprising myself more. So let's see. It could be a book.
I
It could
can't
be.
wait to see what
It,
that
it,
is.
it could be a series. It could be on my own channel. It could be anything.
It could be
I'm
your next
completely
Netflix
open
show.
now. I'm open to the universe bringing whatever it wants to bring to me, and whatever it does is going to be for the best. So
That's
all.
fantastic. I'm I'm so amazed at
Yeah.
knowing all of this. I think it's inspired me in so many ways, or it's given fuel to my determination that you have to keep dreaming, you have to keep working on your dreams also to make them happen.
Yes.
Okay, on a closing note, we're going to
Yeah.
play a super quick rapid fire game. You cannot think about the
All my
answer.
coffee with Karan dreams are coming true right here on this chair.
Absolutely. I'm going to give you two options and just quickly pick one. All right?
Bracing myself.
Let's start. Butter or margarine?
Butter.
Cake or cookies?
Cake.
Sweet or savory?
Sweet, but have to stick to savory because of issues.
Sourdough or brioche?
Oh, brioche.
Okay. Cupcakes or muffins?
Cupcakes.
Cupcakes. India or Europe?
India.
Husband or kitchen?
Husband that will make me a great kitchen.
Okay. All right, that was our time. Thank you
Done.
so much for being on my first ever episode of my podcast, Grow with Anushri. And I feel like today's conversation, I hope that will inspire a lot of people watching this. And I hope that they turn their dreams into reality by listening to what you said.
I'm so happy that I could be a part of this podcast. One of your first guests, and I'm so proud of all the work that you do. Thank you so much for having me here, and I'm so glad you're doing this, and I'm actually excited to know what else is there to come. Who are the other people that are going to come, and what are the interesting conversations I'm going to get to listen to through your podcast?
I think it's going to be a very, very large learning curve for me as well to get people from different domains of life, being achievers. They're on the trajectory of creating something, learning something, and just share their journey with like everyone possible.
Anushri, we're in a city right now that's becoming the talking point and the hub for art and culture.
Absolutely.
Right? As Jaipurites, people now are taking so much pride into what we have to offer, and the way we do it, nobody else
Nobody
does
can do it.
So there's so much talent here,
Right.
so much talent here, so many creative minds. I'm sure like all of them will come here and contribute to something amazing, at your podcast. So thank you so much once again. And this was an amazing conversation.
Thank you so much, Tejasvi.
Thank you.
I feel a woman has to play so many roles in her life of a daughter, a sister, a wife, a mother. And it takes so much out of you to be able to build a career while playing all these roles. I think my biggest takeaway from Tejasvi's story was that how she has juggled not only following her own passion but playing all these roles so beautifully. She has a baby, she has a married life, and she has put everything together so perfectly and also has battled an illness at the same time. So taking care of yourself, your family, and have so much passion for your work and yet achieve the feats that she did, I think it's just remarkable. And that's what I learned from her conversation today. So do not forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe with the channel Grow with Anushri, and also Grow with Anushri clips, so we can keep sending you bite-sized information on everything that the larger podcast has to cover. Thank you so much. And let me keep getting more inspiring guests for you, podcast after podcast.